Hey guys, welcome back to Wind Up Wizard. Doing things a little bit different with this video. I recorded the inbox segment, and then I unboxed them, and I went back and remembered to double check the audio after I recorded and unboxed, and realized that the audio was just really messed up. I forgot to update the settings after I updated the software for OBS and the camera and replug stuff in, and stuff had been unplugged, and it was just a mess. So can't really go back in time. I apologize for that. The packaging wasn't very remarkable anyway. It was pretty standard packaging. These were actually made, strangely enough. They said that they were, well, they didn't say, but apparently they were made directly by Square Enix. So they didn't have like a specific, like, like toy manufacturer, like, PCS Collectibles or, Diamond Select, or Storm Collectibles. It wasn't anything like that. Pretty generic, which is not too uncommon with game companies when they put the stuff out, for marketing purposes and whatnot. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and obviously on the right we have 2B. Well, obviously, I'm assuming most people probably know what these are, but these are from the Nier series. The left one being the protagonist. I hate calling him the protagonist, unfortunately. He does not have a name. If you played the game, you realize, or maybe you didn't realize, I didn't realize, honestly, until the second playthrough, that he didn't have a name. Kind of strange, but it is what it is. So he is labeled as the male protagonist. And then 2B on the right. 2B is pretty known, I'm sure. Personally, I like the first game a lot more than the second one. They're both great games. But yeah, I think I played the first one a lot more than the second one. So yeah, without further ado, we'll just kind of take a look at them. Obviously, not action figures, which is what we do mostly. But like I said, changing that up. I collect more than just action figures, so I kind of wanted to make videos on, all the things that I'm just passionate about. So yeah, this time we have statues. Small statues. 2B's coming in at just under 8 inches, and the male protagonist on the left is just above 8 inches, so about 8 inches on average for them. So easy to put together. You'll notice they have swords, and the swords actually had a little bit of assembly. Well, let's start at the bottom. The discs are pretty easy. You just snap their foot on the disc. They have slots. They're pretty easy to find. It's just 1 foot each. And they slap on, and they're pretty big discs, so they don't, they don't tip that much. Plus, they're not very heavy anyway. Um, so yeah, they're pretty simple. There's not much to them, but they work, and I guess as far as the discs go, I don't know. The way I see it is, if you're not going to put much detail into it, then make it look like it's not really there at all. And so if you're not going to have like a background type stand for them, then just give them something that is almost not noticeable, and that's what they did. So went on the opposite side of the spectrum, but that's good. I like this better than just like a cheap, big, clunky stand that's kind of it's like an eyesore, and there's not much to these, so it's all good there. But yeah, like the swords, I probably should have waited and just put them together live, but I'll explain because there's not much to them. Basically, this one comes apart right here, and then right here, the caps come off. They're easy to come off. You just pull them off. Then you slide the part through the hands, put the second cap on, and then you put this side in and then put this cap on. So 3 pieces for 2B sword. The only problem with 2B sword is not much detail into it. It's just kind of a slate gray or a gunmetal gray. Not really sure what shade of gray that is. But like the texturing is really good. They gave it an edge, and just the mold that they use is pretty detailed. You can see like, just the texture of the metal, and then obviously the head right here has a lot of detail to it. And even the chain kind of down here by the hilt part is really good. And I don't know why they didn't add some coloring to that, or some shading or something, because they had the detail there. They just had to kind of paint it. But it looks like it's unpainted, which, is always unfortunate. I nag about the detail, the accessories, but I mean, it's a figure. You don't have to worry about articulation, so I kind of expect more for the detail, I guess, is what I expect. And with the weapons, it's not quite there. We'll get to the other sword. The other sword has a little more to it. We'll get there in a minute. As far as the rest of it goes, there are a couple things that like stood out. Like it's been a while since I played the game, but I don't know if you can see the shine on her. Well, you can kind of see it, but like the shine on her on the boots right there, they look kind of latexy. I don't remember being that shiny in the game. Maybe they were, and I just didn't notice. Or maybe some people prefer them to be that way, and that's fine. I'm not judging. Um, but it just kind of jumped out. Like it's obviously the plastic they used that did that, and I don't know if it was a design choice or if it was just, the material they used. But it is what it is. Not a huge gripe. Um, yeah, they are shiny, and even like up by the shoulders here is really kind of shiny, which I don't really like when the plastic shines like that unless it's intentional, unless it's supposed to. Just because it always strikes me as kind of cheap. Um, but again, I don't know. Design choice, maybe. I don't know. The rest of it, I mean, it's pretty standard. And again, I'm kind of drawing off memory. But I thought like the lace in the dress here had some kind of like silverish color, like it stood out more, and this just is it's the same color. Like the entire dress is just all black, and I thought there was more to it than that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just imagined that there was. So yeah, I kind of would have liked, or even just like a better material used for the dress part would have been good. But yeah, just kind of nitpicking there. And then you can see like the cuffs. Try to pull it in close. The cuffs are really shiny. It almost looks like wet ink. Like I don't know why that is. I don't think it's supposed to stand out that much, but it's fine. One thing I will point out is kind of awkward to point out, but like right here underneath, you can see it's like a different color. Like the lining is actually white, and I do remember that being the case. So I'm glad that they didn't just make the whole thing inside and out black. They put some detail into the inside, which is good. And then the gloves as well have a little bit of detail to them. I don't think they were very detailed in the game. Obviously, like the white arm part, and then it kind of turns to black by the middle of the hand. So it's pretty good. Oh, also I will say, the sword fits perfectly in the hands, and I can't stress that enough because there are some statues where you just pretty much every McFarlane toy. Well, back in 2002, they weren't really toys; they were more statues. I would honestly say, but um, man, you had to wrestle to get the accessories in the hands of those guys. There are some that I just never really got to fit correctly, and I just gave up. Um, these fit good. They hold the sword good. There's no like wobbling, um, and you didn't have to like force it and risk breaking the plastic. It went together really really well, really easy. So glad for that. And then we'll kind of look at the face. Face looks good. There's also, well, what's this? Yeah, I don't know. That's really small. That might not show up on the camera. Get it close. You can kind of see, well, I don't know if you can. There's a tiny black dot, like, on the left side of her chin. And I don't know if that was like, a beauty mark that they had in the game. I don't think it was. I don't remember a spot being on her face. Or if it's just kind of an imperfection in the coloring. Um, but either way, you see her lips are actually like a different color, so they took the time to put colorization. I don't know if that's the right word. But they colored her face. They put some detail into that, even though half of it's covered. Um, and it looks like there's a little bit of texturing on on like the blindfold, the eye patch part, the mask part, which is good. It's not just like painted black. It actually is a separate piece. Well, I say separate piece, but it's not part of the same mold, but it's glued on there, obviously. Um, and then the detail on the hair actually looks really good. You can't really, I mean, when it comes to like the hair texturing and stuff like that, especially for like the anime type characters, the hair looks exactly how it's supposed to look. I mean, it's supposed to look um, those lines and kind of like spiky, wavy look. Um, if you watch anime, then you'd probably know what I'm talking about. But the hair looks like it's supposed to look. And so I don't really know how you would get that look with like a real type hair material use. I always say, oh, man, I wish they would just, use like real um, hair, like real fabric or something to make it look, wavy and flowy. But with characters designed like this, obviously you can't do it. It's hard to do with most characters, honestly. I have a few older figures that have it, and I always wish they would go back to that. But yeah, this looks exactly how it's supposed to look. Um, it is a little more gray in the front than I feel like it should be. It's kind of like a darker gray. I don't know how well it shows up because the lighting might be too bright, but I feel like it's almost too dark of gray. Maybe not, but it could just be my eyes. But yeah, other than that, um, yeah, pretty good. And then we'll bring the male protagonist, MP. Okay, so he has a little more detail um, in his design just because of like his boots, and they come with this kind of like fur stuff with the chain wrapped around it. I'm not gonna say what I always say, like, why can't they use real chains? Um, because I'm just not gonna say that anymore. I say that all the time. It's like beating a dead horse. But the boots are very well detailed. Um, I kind of wish the bottom had a little more shading to it, but I mean, it looks metallic, and I thought it was supposed to be more like a leathery. Maybe the bottom was metallic, and it was just like at the knee where it turned into like a leather fabric. Um, but either way, I mean, it looks good. I like the colors they used for it, where it's a little bit different than right here. It kind of gets a little bit darker, and it's a different type of. It's not like a shinier plastic; it's a more matte finished plastic. So that's cool. And then here, like this fur part, it looks like they did put a little bit of, well, actually, maybe that's just the texture and the lighting makes it look like it has shading, but chains are a different color. Again, it's all one piece. They're just kind of like made in the mold. And then these weird ornaments on the front are also part of that. So it's pretty good. One thing that kind of bugged me is this part. Um, like obviously it's supposed to look like that, but this part just kind of like it's really, it's almost like I worry that it's gonna break off sometime. When I was taking it out, I didn't realize how flimsy it was. And if you move it too much, it feels like it would probably break right up here. But we're not gonna test the durability on that. So we have a good shot of the sword. So yeah, this sword has a little more detail, and there's little different colors, like the edge is just kind of like a silver color, and then you got that dark gray right here along the other part. The hilt, there's not much detail on that, but I mean that's how the sword. It's not like a classic, broadsword. It's kind of it almost strikes me as like a futuristic broadsword. So the minimalist design on like the hilt and whatnot, I can forgive. I feel like that fits. Oh, one thing I will say is that the sword, even if you have like his hand all the way by the hilt, you can't move it up anymore. This part does. I had to kind of like turn it a certain way. Otherwise, it kind of like pushes the disc up a little bit because it hangs down so low. But if you turn it a certain way, it works fine. But yeah, for a minute there, it was kind of like tipping slightly forward. It wasn't very noticeable. So yeah, just something I noticed. And then yeah, as far as like putting the sword together for him, you slide it onto the one hand and then you put the cap on it, and this part is the cap, and it was easy to put together. So yeah, I can't be grateful enough for how easy the swords are, because these hilts, even this one, I mean, it's kind of flimsy. It's not like flimsy, but it would be easy to break because it's such a thin material, or such a thin piece of plastic. But yeah, they fit into the hands really well. So yeah, moving up, the sleeves I really like. I like the detail on the sleeves here because you can kind of see, like, they're not really runes, but it's just this geometric design in a lighter gray. And he has the same on his shoulders, like right here and then right there. And it looks really good. It's easy to see. It might not be easy to see on the camera because of the lighting, but it's easy to see, but it's not like obnoxiously vibrant, right? Like, it doesn't distract, which is how it's supposed to be. It's how it is in the game. This chain kind of bugs me a little bit just because it like purposely juts out like a loop. It almost looks like something's supposed to be there, like hang on his belt. Um, but it's not. It's like you know, it's one thing to have like the chains wrapped around. And he's talking about the chains again. It's one thing to have the chains wrapped around tightly. Like I can forgive that because they shouldn't move that much anyway. But if you're gonna have one like jut out like this, you might as well just use like a real chain or something. Just let's go for it. You know, come on, man. But again, I say this stuff and I don't know the costing of all this. I'm probably just blowing smoke. Um, and yeah, the only other thing I could say about like the midsection here is like his shirt, like he has these ribbons right here, and on the top, and then he has this kind of like woolish fur thing coming under this flap right here. And they're almost hard to see because it's just the same gray. There's like no detail into it. And I kind of wish they would have made those pop a little bit more. Yeah, the face looks good. Like he looks in the game. The detail on the eyes is actually really good considering how small they are. Let's see if we can get him closer. Hard to get like the close detail. The detail on the eye, like the fact that they colored it, gave it a pupil, and then he has like the lines and the eyebrow and everything. It looks really good. Like the detail on the face looks really good. There's even some just colorization. Some color in the lips too, like a darker color to kind of give it that shadow, which is really good. Impressive. That's not a big head to to be painting on. And then even like the detail on the ears, you can kind of see behind the hair is really good. The heads on both of these are really good. I would say the darker gray on 2B's hair just kind of stands out to me, but maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, I like the way his hair looks a little bit better, just because there's more of it flowing away from the head instead of just being one piece. But it is hard to do that with 2B's because, you know, that's how her hair looks. I think I just like the way his hair is more than 2B's. Um, but yeah, decent amount of detail. And then even like, it really would have been cool if this part on the back, like right here, was just colored different because it's a really, I like the way the chains connect in the back and I like that part. Wish they stood out a little more. Although, you know, when they're displaying, they're like this, you're never going to see the back. But I like to just kind of nitpick. So yeah, that's probably gonna do it. I mean, it's always easier to kind of take a look and give an overview of the statues and stuff because you don't have to mess with the articulation. And usually getting them together is a lot easier. Obviously, they stand a lot easier. God. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this one. Um, yeah, details good. There are some things I would change. You know, like I said, I think the boots on 2B are a little shiny. The dress could use a little more detail, and just I would have liked more consistency on like the overall fabric of her like dress and the gloves and everything put together. But each piece kind of looks like it's made with a different type of plastic. And as for the male protagonist, um, I think the detail in him is a lot better, but I also think that he has a lot more detail to show. There's just you know a lot more little accessories that he has on his vest, and then you know his like legs have you know, 4 different parts to them, to the boots and the pants and all that. So there's just more to show off there. Um, so he looks pretty cool. As for like the way they stand, I kind of wish 2B had more of like an outward position, so she didn't look so linear. Like if she took more of like a stronger stand, like a battle stance or something, instead of just this delicate one leg behind the other. That's kind of what he has too. But I like the way only one hand is holding the sword and the other one is just kind of out there. It just kind of gives more, I don't know, personality. That might be the word. Yeah, that's the word I'm gonna go with. It gives more personality to the statues, which is hard to do because you kind of have to do it with the posing and the details because that's what they are. So yeah, I'm not too thrilled with her stance, but her design is good. It looks fairly close to what I remember being in the game. The sword could use a little more detail. But yeah, his sword has a little bit more detail. And it follows the minimalist design that the game tends to use with a lot of the weapons, I feel. Um, and so, yeah, I don't know if those are the weapons I would have chose to go with either of them, but I think it works more for the protagonist than it does for 2B, just because of his stance and the way he holds it. Yeah, so I'll just leave it at that, and thank you for watching. And let me know what you guys think. Anything you'd like to see in future videos, please feel free to like and subscribe as I continue to grow the channel and we branch out towards different paths of things to look at on this channel. Not just action figures, but statues. Maybe we'll do some different stuff as well. Actually, I know we will because I already have other stuff planned. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.